Welcome back to EPINNA'S Whole Body Restorations, where we're dedicated to the whole person, the body, the mind, the spirit, and the legacy. Today, I want to talk about something that many people fear, but few people truly understand. And it is in the realm of growing older. And I want to ask a question. Where have our elders gone? You know, there was a time when we would seek elders for counsels. You would see children sitting at their feet listening to stories of old. We don't see that much anymore. And I want us to dive into that to get an understanding of why elders are so important within our community, to seek their wisdom, their life lessons, and to try to regain that support system. And with that being said, let's get started. You know, as a child, I would be able to go visit my grandparents and listen to them tell stories when they were younger, and all the things that their lives were built on. And I was even fortunate enough to meet a great grandparent, and when I speak of my grandparents, I was doing some research last night relating to a family tree. And my grandmother was born in 1909. So that means her parents were born in 1880s to the 1870s. And my great grandparent was born in, let's say, the 1840s or so. So there was a lot of history there. And that taught me so much because with our communities, um, slavery comes up. You know what I'm saying? And how they dealt with it, all the wisdom that was brought to the table, the history, and they learned from their parents. And things was oral then. But today, I don't see those mentors. We have more influencers. Communities was centered around elders, but now we're dealing with influencers. The information is so abundant. Tell all the information, but yet you still can come across videos where people are feeling lost. You can read posts where people are asking for sense of directions. And I do believe that we're missing this one component, elders, because a lot of us fear growing old. We're in fear of the gray hair. We lose the wisdom because um just in my experience, I've noticed where people don't want to let go of their past to move forward as they're aging. They're constantly reliving their younger years and not adapting to the present, to live in the here and now, and to accept it. You know, we stopped asking who has wisdom and looked like we started asking who has followers. You know, and a lot of things that are out there is not wisdom. It's just information. And information is not always the true knowledge that we need. We need to seek counsel and living your life. You live with experiences. You don't just live with, um, let's say, everything that, you go to school, you learn a subject, nine chances out of 10, that subject is not going to teach you how to deal with life within itself. It's teaching you a skill. But wisdom comes with living and learning and growing, making mistakes, getting back up, trying again. And we need that, especially for our younger generation, to pass on traditions righteously, you know, not follow the trends. And that has been just puzzling me for some time now. I was like, man, I can remember going to the country and just sitting in. My grandmother is teaching me so much, if it's uh, things about womanhood, things about how to deal with your husband, things about uh, how to can, how to prepare foods, how to sew, uh, just so many things that we've gotten out of because society has made everything so convenient for us till we look at things like that as just plain weird. Who does that? Who does that? When you can just buy it. You know what I'm saying? But now, since we've gotten into that trend, we're seeing that a lot of the things that we've been doing is just not good for us. You know, uh, Growing your own foods, for instance, is better than going to the stores now because now you can see videos upon videos on how the food we're eating is. You know what I'm saying? Even the clothes that we're wearing are toxic. Some of them have lead. When if it was passed down on how to get a sewing machine and sew some clothes together, put an outfit together, seamstress, you know what I'm saying? Go buy you some fabric and you know what you're buying, opposed to uh, buying something off the rack and it's full of lead and you don't know what it's doing to your body. You know what I'm saying? I remember when my mom set me down and taught me how to braid hair. That helped me along my life because I was able to earn money on the side braiding hair. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother taught me how to grow and store food, how to sew, how to cook. My mother as well. And these are things that we are lacking, but we need to get back to that. And that's why I had to ask, Where are our elders? We can find a whole lot of negativity flowing. We got to bring back the positive in righteousness. That's what's lost. And I know I'm not the only one who asks these questions. I can't be. You know, that that is wondering these things. How did we get so lost? When did the tables turn? When did we stop listening to parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles? Now we have uh it's just so much, and it's not to offend anyone at all. But we're having mothers wanting to be sisters and not mothers, into competition, um no one is in acceptance of, when our body changes, things are gonna happen. So instead of going through that change, we want to go get a lift here. We want to go get a tuck there. Instead of just accepting what the Most High has just given us. You know what I'm saying? Trying all these new techniques, we find ourselves losing our hair, losing our morals, just losing everything, and we're not gaining. And I just said, man, so much has changed within my lifetime that I don't see anymore. And it didn't have to change, but that has always been us as a people, through history, through scripture. It has always been us wanting to join in with other nations to live as they live and not to accept, how we were meant to live. Because a lot of the stuff that we join into, we 9 chances out of 10 did not invent it, but we are quickly to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then we find ourselves in situations, just for an example, like we are boycotting Asian stores, you know, um, because they brought a lot of hair and all these different products to our communities, and not knowing that they really don't care about us in a sense. But it took this long for us to recognize that we have businesses within our own communities that we don't support. Now we're in an influx of supporting our own businesses. Our eyes are opening. But, I just want to say I'm thankful for the awakening. I'm thankful for that. And maybe we had to go through those things. But just as we had to awaken to that, we have to awaken to what our elders are meant to do. And what do we do when we get to these ages where we are considered an elder? You know, it doesn't mean an elder is growing old and growing bitter. An elder is growing old with wisdom, with knowledge, with experience that we can pass down to our younger generation to teach, because information is not always wisdom. And we have to understand that. Wisdom, it teaches us, just as you see on the screen, knowledge, information. So it's time for us to wake up and start living as we are meant to live. Honestly, you know, and like I say, this is not meant to make anyone feel any kind of way at all. This is just suggestions, and drop in the comments. What do you think? Did you grow up with an elder? What did you learn from that elder within your life? May have been a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, uh, a neighbor. Because we, growing up, we had to adopt an elder in the neighborhood. And my mom was at each one of us, me and my brothers. And for that elder, we had to go to the store for them. If they needed anything, we had to be there to help them. And mine was a science teacher, Miss Melba Taylor. I would never forget her. But I can always remember all the things that she taught me as I was helping her. And that was the amazing part about it. I'm 59 years old now, and I've lived through some things in life that I can share with someone that can maybe help them. I know it's true because people are always coming to me seeking advice. And I am very grateful that the Most High has instilled that in me, that wisdom in me, and to know the difference, you know. And if you are an elder, what are you doing with it? Share. Let me know. Because these are genuinely, genuine topics that needs to be discussed within our communities. We're coming together, you know, across the lands, not just in the States, the Caribbeans, Africa, on the continent. We're all needing it. And if we're doing it, thank you for doing it. Thank you for sharing your life experiences. Because we're could be saving lives for all we know. And then when you're sharing your experiences, and if someone has gone through what you have already went through, you're letting them know this too shall pass. You're letting them know that you can get through this. Faith without works is dead. And if someone can hear what your experiences are by sharing that wisdom, they may feel like, okay, well, I'm not alone. Because a lot of, especially dealing with our younger people, and when I look at these videos, seen a video the other day, a young lady, she was crying. She was tired of going through some things. She was tired of working the way she was working, and tears was in her eyes. And all I can say was, my goodness, if I can reach out to her and talk to her and let her know that too will pass, because our ancestors has went through much worse than that, and they survived. And how I know they survived, because we are here. We are the proof that they survived it. You know, you used to always used to tell me, the Most High will not never give you no more than you can deal with, and we have to understand that. But if we sit closed mouthed and we're not sharing, how would they know? I love it when my nieces, my nephews can call me and ask me questions. If it's how to cook something, or if they're dealing with something, to be sometimes just to sit and just listen. It's good. You know, the elders was the therapist. You understand? And I think that's one of the reasons why we hear all the time that our people, we don't like therapists, as things like that, is because we always had elders to go to talk to help us get through, to share knowledge. But when it's lost, you look for the next best thing. I'm not ashamed of nothing I went through in life, because I know I'm not the first one to have gone through that. Since nothing new is under the sun. When I read these verses, I can understand I'm not alone. You know, we are what those scriptures speaks. You know, counsel. So I just wanted to share this piece and get this out, because I think it's really important to ask that question. And again, please drop comments, share, tell me a story on how you've helped someone as an elder, and how an elder has helped you with some things. Because we can't let they call them millenniums, our younger generations to come, to feel that they're lost, they're disconnected. You know, I was listening to another sister a couple of days ago, where she was telling me how one young lady was dealing with so much. She was dealing with so much, and she wanted to unalive herself. And yet she didn't. Giving thanks to the Most High. You know, and I'm not the only one that's seeing these things. We all are. With the way things are going on in the societies we're living in, the pressure, the job status, the inflation,
We need to do more as a people. We must do more.
Thank you for joining me today on EPINNA'S Whole Body Restorations. In our next conversation, we are going to be discussing something many people struggle with, but few understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. Because being alone does not necessarily means you're lonely. And sometimes solitude can become one of life's greatest teachers. Until next time, continue to heal, continue to grow, and continue to seek wisdom. Wisdom Hunter, and peace be unto you.